I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce your own talk.
Sweet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is looking at, ooh, this is fantastic. We're going to be looking at fantastic malware. Actually, the official title of this, I really struggled with the title, believe it or not, was Extracting Information from Common Malware for Mortals. And what that really means is that we're going to take a look at the normal malware that you folks see every day. I don't know about you guys, but I see 3 or 4 malware email campaigns throughout my week. And we're going to take a look at these. We are actually doing dynamic analysis, so we are not doing any reverse engineering. We are not doing debugging. We're not doing anything else besides taking malware and running it and checking it out. Most of the malware samples that we're going to look at today, you can literally do in 2 segregated VMs. You got your virtual box, you got your Windows, and you got a Linux box, which is going to lie to the malware. The only exception is Zeus Panda Banker, which does require internet, as I've found, but I included it because it's a pain in my butt and I hate it. We will also look at TrickBot, the trick, which is extra icky. Before we go any further, I'm going to ask you guys to ask me a question, which is, why are we doing this? That's a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked it. We are doing this because even though we have our Mimecast, we've got our Proofpoint, we've got our AppRiver, we've got all these email sanitization technologies, they're not always 100%. This was just September. If you notice here, I've got, believe it or not, this was an open directory, and I have 100EX, 103EX, 106EX, and outstanding here, NetWire, Remcos, fantastic. Now I know what my indicators are going to be. However, this is what I got. Anybody notice any discrepancies? Donde está 102, por favor? I had no 102.exe on this list, and believe it or not, 102.exe was actually LockyBot. So if I knew that was LockyBot, then I'd see, okay, great. So now I know that I've got my FRA.php, which I'm going to see on my network. The real reason we take a look at these is so we know what's attacking us. We have lots of campaigns that come through. I can tell you straight away the one that always drops Panda Banker is Chancellor, Tordell. It downloads Evil Pony. Until the end of September, you could set your watch by it. Monday through Thursday, between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock a.m., bam, it's coming in with eFAQs, with all these other subjects. Those large campaigns that you'll see coming in throughout your day, those will generally be well analyzed. You're going to have Proofpoint on them. You're going to have Palo Alto on them. Most of the time, those are the ones that are going to come in. You're pretty safe with saying, okay, yeah, we have thousands of emails that just came in. Even if they're undelivered, if you're looking at something like Proofpoint, you can still say, holy crud, I've got a boat ton of these coming in. Somebody's analyzed them, and it's good to go. It's these onesie-twosies. It's these right here that you have to be careful with. TrickBot will normally come in sometimes on a very large-scale campaign, but other times, as I've experienced, they come in onesie-twosies, 3s and 4s, just enough under the radar, so if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to know what to look for on your network. Any questions so far? I was told by my family to go slow, unlike my standard speed of gerbil on crack. So, questions? Anything? All right, cool. So, the tools we're going to use, all of them, I'm a real big open source guy. The more open source, the better, only because it makes it easier, to use. From my perspective, I use a lot of Linux. In fact, as we look at this, one of the crucial things, Tech Help List com on Twitter really spoke this well. He said, you handle your Linux malware on Windows, and you handle your Windows malware on Linux. Keep that in mind. We're going to be using VirtualBox. We'll have a Linux VM. I would highly recommend Amanda Rossell from Endgame Security, I believe. She has a post, and I'll post all these on my Pastebin after this talk. She has a pre-made setup ready to go VM with inetsim. Really hot stuff, makes it super easy to lie to the malware, which we like to do. Windows 7 VM, we'll be using inetsim. So inetsim, there's also a great one called FakeNet. These are what we're going to use to just basically lie to the malware. That it's most of these, in fact all of these, except for Panda Banker, will request some sort of what's my external IP address? IP chicken, IPnet info, I think there's a can has IP, what is my IP address? All these ones just so we can find out what's my external IP address. We'll use inetsim and the Linux VM to lie to it. If you want to get a little more esoteric, which I have done, I'll run my own Apache server on that VM, and I will actually go download the responses from IP Chicken or from IPnet info, and I will actually copy the responses verbatim, how they look, and I will actually create different websites within an Apache instance that will actually mimic the exact responses. But inetsim does just a great job as well. So, I will reiterate that when you are using this type of technique using VirtualBox, I would strongly recommend you actually handle it on a Linux machine. If not, if you're willing to take the risk, I would strongly recommend wherever your source is, you use something like 7-zip to encrypt it zip with a password. This way you're going to prevent yourself from accidentally clicking on it and having a horrible rest of your day. So, first thing we're going to do, you can choose whatever internal network you like. 172.160.1 and 0.2 is what I've chosen. All your 192.168 blocks, those are fine as well. You'll be wanting to set these up as an internal only network on VirtualBox. You can see here, I've got this set, just the router, the default gateway, and the preferred DNS are the Linux box, which we just set up. Really easy. Make sure to do a ping test, make sure they can talk to each other. So what I've done here is I actually run VirtualBox on Linux as well. So I have a VM shared directory. So the VM shared directory is what I share on the Linux machine itself. And that allows me to share from the guest to the host. That one I have read and writable. There's nothing in there. It's only if I want to copy something from the guest to the host. Now SF cases is actually where I have the malware. So that's sitting on my host machine. So when I want to make a copy, when I want to get this malware from my Linux box VM onto my Windows machine, the first step is I use my Linux VM to copy from my host to my Linux VM. And this is one of them, Movement Monday. I have no idea why they called it that, but that's what they called it. From there, we will SFTP that file across from our Linux VM to our Windows VM. So our process is our host machine, preferentially Linux, which is holding the malware. We copy it from the Linux VM from that machine onto Linux VM itself, and then we SFTP it across to the Windows machine. After we've got that set, we're going to this is how we're going to set up our inetsim. Really quick, really easy. You can actually just do a search and replace. I think they're all set to 10.10.1. Anyway, we tell it, hey, we're going to bind to our internal address, 172.16.0.1. Same thing with our DNS. The default response is inetsim HTTP server, a bit of a giveaway. So we want to change that into something that's not blatantly saying, hey, I'm inetsim. Malware absolutely does look for that. First thing we're going to look at is AgentTesla. AgentTesla is a keylogger. It is one of many that I see constantly. This Hawkeye keylogger as well. They're very prevalent. They can be anywhere from embedded within documents to downloaded. Some documents will actually, I've seen a lot of recent ones where they'll actually go out to a bit.ly link. The bit.ly link will go to a coca.la, or there's one other one, I think it's conf.mo. They'll actually download either a JPEG file, which is literally an executable, or they will tag on an embedded executable within the JPEG file. It's trivial to execute it out. We run this, and a good thing that I do is I keep an eye on this bad boy right here. So when I have 5 megs of memory used, I don't think much is going on. But I will tell you that as soon as I run it, I will keep an eye. I normally have both of these running. I have a nice widescreen monitor. I have my Linux VM on one side, my Windows VM on the other, and I run a packet capture so I can listen to the traffic. As soon as you see the magic of checkip.dns.org, you know that it's loaded into memory. At this point in time, I suspend the process, and I create a dump file. I may not have all the information there yet, but I will. I actually, especially for AgentTesla, I make about 3 or 4 process dumps. I let them sit. I will resume the process, and then I'll do a search string. Sometimes I have to refresh it. As soon as you start seeing this gobbledygook, you're in like Flynn. You know you got it. These are base64 encoded and encrypted entries that we use. That is the key, which is a static key that 1B2. I don't know why they haven't changed it yet, but they haven't changed it yet. I will add one more time, make a dump file. From there, I'm going to use Nuantrack on Twitter. Is a very sharp gent. I believe he works for Palo Alto. He created this. All I did was add one more entry, which is import base64, and basically weaponize this. I will also have this up on Pastebin. We copy all these back over. 3 dump files over, 3 dump files over. And from here, we strings these out. We do EL for wide to extracted basic B64. We run that script, which is here. That's literally all this is. I kid you not. Copy, paste, add the import base64 under there. That's seriously it. And we will have this amount of excitement. It does look a little nasty at first. You can clean it up with grep set and awk. At the end of the day, this is what you'll get. And you will see that this went actually to ftpelassics.com, jugaelassics.com. People who say, gee, that looks like a password are probably right. That's probably a password. AgentTesla comes in 3 tasty variants. Usually we see the SMTP version, which may use TLS, which means you will not be able to get the threat actor. In this case, jugaelassics.com. Sometimes they do a phenomenal fail where they actually have their email go out in clear text, and they do an authentication. It's base64. You get their credentials that way. In this particular case, though, it was the FTP variant. So if we saw a DNS request for elastic.com, we would know that somebody has opened something bad and their day has just gone pear-shaped. Our next little beastie that we're going to look at is Panda Banker. We will start with that same process. We're going to copy it over from our host operating system onto our Linux VM. We will then SFTP it across from our Linux VM to our Windows 7 box. We will run this. And what will seem like a very long time, but you will actually see 2 service host processes pipe up. At this point in time, I actually will do a couple dumps as well, but I will also begin to look for strings within this. And the phrase that pays, ladies and gentlemen, and I usually just check for _config. As soon as you got _config, you're golden. Why? Because now you know your botnet ID is 2610, and you have all the configuration information needed. Dump it, lets it out, bam, there you go. There's their entire config, up to and including the base64 encoded process name, which is usually putty.exe. Botnet ID is up there. Your web injects, your VNC modules, your grabber, your socks, your keylogger, all that garbage is right there for you. So again, if you suddenly see this on your network, someone has just opened something that is very naughty, and you're going to get to roll incident response. Questions? Anything? All right. Our last one, and my particular favorite, but not really, is Trippile. Same process. We copy it over from hosts to Linux VM, from Linux VM to Windows 7 VM. The process now is so fast that if you have Process Hacker running, which is kind of tasty, you will see a service has been deleted. Anyone want to guess what that service is? God bless you. Windows Defender. It's kind of rude. You can also check, and this one will absolutely take an eternity. I kid you not. You're going to wonder if anything actually happened after you click the execute. You'll be like, oh my gosh, what happened? You can check because TrickBot will actually create a scheduled task. As you can tell, it says it's every 10 minutes. If you catch it wrong, you will actually have to wait 10 minutes, which is really lame. This is what it has started. This is the actual start. I named my boxes randomly just to make them look good as much as I can. In what will seem like an eternity, service hosts will finally show up. You will also see network activity the same with AgentTesla. You'll see your check IP. You'll see your can I have IP, all these other ones. Ident.me is another one that TrickBot will continually try. This is why my external IP is another. This is why it's really good to have these running side by side. You can use T-Shark, you can use TCP dump, whatever you want to use in order so you can see the traffic. You can actually, if you're just doing it on a host machine as well, if you're running Wireshark, you can listen in on that VNet, that VirtualBox Ethernet interface as well, and listen to that as well. From here, the phrase that pays is MCConf, Mike, Charlie, Charlie, Oscar, November, Foxtrot. As soon as you see this, and you may have to do several refreshes, you're golden. We don't even have to do any dumps with this one. All we have to do is save it. Right down here, you can save your strings. It'll actually save this, the entire search. This is our version. There's our G tag. There's our command and control servers, which are going to download a boat ton of nasty modules, up to including the latest one, which is a point of sale grabber, which is a real beast. Copied over. In fact, on my VM, on my Linux VM, I have the bi-directional clipboard rock and roll, and I just copy it straight over. Copy this into Visual Studio Code, XML format it, post it on Twitter like a boss. If you happen to see port 449, you're going to have a bad day for the rest of your day. This is why we take a look at these things, these small sort of, okay, it was a malicious attachment, grand. Was it blocked? I get that a lot. Oh, was it blocked? Yes, it was blocked. Oh, it's fantastic. Well, it's not fantastic. What the bugger all was it, right? We want to know what's attacking us so we know what indicators to look for. These are all the goodies that we used. I would strongly recommend Visual Studio Code. It is cross-platform. It is, as I've used it more and more, it's been a really good replacement for Notepad++. Again, I will post these up shortly. Any questions? Please.
Is there a particular reason you use Windows 7 instead of Windows 10?
I use Windows 7 because Windows 10 is also a pain in my butt. Trying to get it to stop running antivirus. Windows 10 is fantastic for the common person. I would have my mom run Windows 10. As an analyst, oh my gosh, stop. I have to make special things, special scripts just to kill the thing. I actually use Windows 10 for static analysis, which is fine and dandy. But seriously, I had to make sure to disable all the antivirus checks, the Windows Defender. It is amazing. That's currently why. I have also found there are certain types of malware that will. I ran one just the other day. The .NET would only run in Windows XP. So I have I have no idea why. So I have a Windows XP VM. I have a Windows 7 VM, which is 32-bit only. I also have one which is 64-bit only. I have all three of them, and I have seriously used all three of them to analyze certain malwares that just won't play any other way. Other questions? Don't think they're inane questions because they're not. Anything else?
Keep a folder of clean copies of your VMs and then copy it off and use new ones each time?
That's a great question. I recently kind of sort of switched over to making snapshots, but for some reason I found for a long time that making snapshots was having to remember to go back and restore the snapshot later. It's terrible when you, okay, I'm going to do this great analysis, you start it up, it's firing out, oh crud, I forgot to restore the snapshots. I just cut it out, stop it, restore the snapshot. I've actually gone in and set the drive. Once I get everything all set up, I got all the tools that I need, PID dump, whatever, process hacker, I will actually go in and set that drive to immutable. And so all I need to do is, as soon as I shut it down, it automatically, nothing was ever stored to the disk. When you're using it for snapshots, then it's stored to the disk. There's a caveat with that, however. The bonus point about if you're using snapshots, you can, if you say, oh, gee, I needed a file off that image, I can actually just start up my VirtualBox again, and boom, everything's fine and dandy. I didn't restore the snapshot yet, so I can still grab the file or the artifact that was dropped. But that's a really good question. So far, immutable seems to be the best method for me, but I have switched over a couple of them to the snapshot method, just because a lot of these tools get updated really frequently. X64 debug gets updated just almost monthly, and I'd like to keep those tools current, so that's why I've kind of switched over to the snapshot method. Anything else? Okay. The last bit before I go, as you go out, and as you look at these malicious code, as you defend your companies, defend your families, the one thing to keep in mind is that everything we do, every service, every product, it is all about people. So as you approach your day and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you're on call, and you're looking at an IDS alert, keep it in the back of your mind that really at the end of the day, this is all about people. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.